I don't think it switched cameras. Ah, that's what it was meant to do. I hope I'm online now. Right, right. I acknowledge the traditional owners of this land. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and to Aboriginal elders and peoples from other communities who may be taking part in this live stream today. So what that was meant to do was run the intro sequence. So it sets up the input from OBS, runs the intro video, takes the ATEM on air so it begins streaming, and then waits 60 seconds and then switches the audio to my microphone, disables the audio from the laptop, and switches the camera to the front camera. And I think it did everything except switch to the front camera, so I ended up having to press the button to do that manually. Now, sorry Sion, I'll show you some photos though. No, I'm not standing in the Super Lab. There'll be a little bit more warning of that, I think. And so what I should be able to do, okay, let's just check. This is front camera, and if I do this, I should have the desktop, yes, with the like the picture-in-picture thing happening down in the corner, and back to the front camera. So it's kind of mostly working. Super Garage? Oh, I haven't been watching Mighty Car. I haven't seen Mighty Car Mods for a while. So yes, I know there is a background conspiracy happening. Everybody's building super stuff. Now, the live stream today is going to be cut short, and that is because by 11:30, so a little bit under an hour and a half from now, I have to be in the car driving to Ballarat, and then I've got to get back again this afternoon. It's going to be a bit of a compressed, busy afternoon, so I can't hang around, unfortunately. So I can't go on to, I can't do like the normal 2 hour sort of live stream. I'm going to be having to cut it probably just after an hour. Early lunch, yes, Michael. So Peter, if you have a timer set that is going to send me an SMS to remind me to go and eat lunch at 12 o'clock, you need to update it and make it 11 o'clock. And it should say, go and get in the car. So, a few things. Okay, something I just saw this morning and that I am not at all prepared for. I'm going to just pull something up on Twitter if I can find it. And where was it? Raphael just replied to my tweet and said it's bedtime here. No, it's Sunday morning over here. What I'm looking for is, I know this is something I should have prepared earlier. Gerald 42, Jerry Riley, here we go. Hang on, where is that tweet? Oh, no. This is really good, good live streaming, isn't it? All right, what I'm looking for. Oh, no, it was Caleb. Caleb Craft. No. There were a couple of interesting things I was going to show you that I saw on Twitter. One is, okay, this one is worth talking about as well, because this is cool. Let's switch to there. Okay, so this was yesterday, I think. Caleb posted, and I'm going to drop this tweet in the chat. So this is 3D printing assistive tech game controllers. Well, not really game controllers, but kind of add-ons to controllers. So the idea with this is that the controller project is a really cool thing. What it's about is designing modifications to game controllers so that people with disabilities can use them. And there are a whole lot of different modifications and things. So if we have a look in the print library, which is on Prusa Printers, Is it loading? Here we go. So there are a whole bunch of different things. So there are adapters and just as I've just clicked on one random example. So this is something that can be 3D printed that fits onto a game controller and modifies the trigger and makes it, just changes the way the trigger works. Extended triggers there and other modifications and things on here. So it's all about taking existing game controllers and printing modifications and adapters that go onto them so that people who can't have physical difficulty with a regular game controller can adapt it to suit their needs. So that's a really cool thing. Anyway, the reason I brought this up is that Caleb posted this on Twitter. Needing some volunteers in the UK for 3D printing and posting parts. So if you're in the UK, check out that link that I put in the chat. And if you're in the UK and you have a 3D printer and you feel like helping out with this sort of thing, please get in touch with Caleb. That is a really cool initiative. And yeah, I don't know if there is anything like this happening in Australia, but it would be good if there was. So the other thing that I was looking for was, I'm sure it was Gerald Jerry Riley. I'm pretty sure it was Jerry who posted a thing about a wheelchair. Oh, maybe it was like a reply or a retweet or something. No, I don't know where it is. But there was a... It's a bit silly me having to just describe it to you, but it was a project to build an off-road wheelchair. Something with, it had like really large pneumatic tires, and it was designed to go into difficult situations, so that for people who rely on a wheelchair for mobility and want to be able to go areas that aren't like nice, neat paving, concrete areas, might want to get out onto walking tracks and those sorts of things. It's an initiative to build an open source electric wheelchair for that sort of situation. And I wish I could find it now. I had it, I was looking at it on my laptop earlier this morning, and I thought, I'm going to show that on the stream, and now I can't find it. Ah, very annoying. So, maybe I'll find that some other time. Let's get on with the main show, which is the thing that I was wanting to talk about, which is just switching things here, which is this. So yesterday I went over to the factory, Lachlan's factory, where I'm going to be renting some space and setting up my new workshop, and I took some photos because I wanted to be able to show what it is, and it's kind of a historical record, so it's keeping a record of what things are like at this point in time and before all of the refurb and fit out is done. And so part of the reason for the visit yesterday is that Lachlan's father, who ran this business before him, was big into electronics and early transistor radios, like antique radios and that sort of thing. So he had a collection of things like Byte magazine and Circuit Seller and all those sorts of magazines dating back a long, long time. And there were a ridiculous number of magazines that needed to be cleared out. And it's one of those situations, this is like me with the model train magazines a couple of years ago, having a huge collection of magazines that date back, in my case it was dating back to the 1930s, and they kind of have some historical interest, but they don't really have any monetary value. So the question is, what do you do with them? I don't know how much, it was something in the order of 120, 130 kilos of magazines that had that I was storing, and I just needed to get rid of them. There was no point selling them, so they ended up going to Anthony, known as Decryption. So if you go to, in fact, let's switch over to here and Decryption. Here we go. So yesterday, what Anthony does is somewhere here. So this photo was taken yesterday at the at Lachlan's factory, and this was after we'd loaded some magazines into it. And this isn't even all of them. This is just some. You can't really quite see what there is in there. What is there? Byte magazine, more Byte magazine, EDN. Yeah, lots and lots of stuff. So the back of the car was loaded. All 3 seats of the car, other than the driver's seat, were loaded, and even the frunk, or the fruit, had magazines in it. So this was not all of them. This is just, it was the majority, but it definitely was not all. There's going to need to be another carload taken away from Lachlan's. So anyway, the point of all of this, what Anthony does is he's got a room set up with 12 scanners in it with bulk sheet feeders, and he's got a guillotine. So what he does is collects old magazines, guillotines off the spine, runs them through the bulk sheet feeder, through the scanners, and then uploads them to archive.org. So all of these sorts of things that would normally, yeah, they would sit in someone's garage and eventually go into recycling or just get thrown out without being recorded. He captures it all. So yeah, this is the picture of those boxes after he'd got them back home and put them in storage in his garage. So yeah, he generates a ridiculous number of uploads to archive.org. So part of that was going back to here. I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit and I'll try to find something. Oh, okay. This is showing some of the context of where the magazines have come from. So you can see this bookcase here, which has still got a heap of magazines in it. This is after Anthony took all of those. So there are more in this box down here, there are more in this box down here. And so there were magazines stacked on all of these shelves, and to the right of that, all of these shelves, and there were more shelves in this as well, and this shelf goes off to the right, off the edge of the picture. So that was magazines stacked all the way across there. You know, I'll just scan through here. Oh, here's another view, so you can see the magazine shelves continued all the way across here and up to the ceiling up there and down to the floor. Nice computer in there, James says. Which picture was I looking at? This one. Oh, yes. And this one, this keyboard has a scanner built into the keyboard, like a single sheet scanner. So you can take a sheet of paper and feed it in through the top of the keyboard, and it goes around and curls, goes in and curls around and comes back out to you, and it scans it into the computer. It's an old AT style keyboard type arrangement. Yeah, this place is full of antique computers and valve radios and lots of things. But yeah, this is after this room has been mostly cleared up. So maybe I should stop jumping around and show you, to give you some context. All right, now, actually, before we do that, I'm going to show you the floor plan again in 3D mode. And yes, I'm aware that I'm doxing myself, but pretty soon it's not going to be relevant because the location will be public anyway. So this is the plan, the mock-up that we've seen previously. And here's the front door for Factory 2, there's the roller door. The actual windows here are like floor, they're door size, so they go down to the floor, but this is just using the library out of Floor Planner. And this front room here is where those photos are. So that bookcase is along this wall just here, and it extends to about here somewhere. And okay, you see these two doors in the plan? that is going to be relevant, because if I switch back to here and go to that big hole there, right there in the wall, that's where those two doors are on the plan. So that view looking towards this corner is kind of the same as that view looking back towards that corner. And the carpet obviously needs to be ripped up and replaced, so I'm going to probably put something like vinyl flooring in there because it's hard wearing and smooth and much better for a lab sort of environment. Underneath this carpet there is concrete, but it's nice smooth concrete. It was floated off when it was poured, and it's got a very smooth surface, so it's actually pretty good. And then that's another view. So the big window that goes through between the clean room and the lab, that'll go right in this area, like there basically, where that selection is. Michael says, welcome to 1973. Yes. This room very much is 1973. So Lachlan's dad bought this factory, I think it was in around 1980, early 80s, something like that, and it hasn't been touched. So it's a bit of a time machine. Iggy says, while cleaning up, don't forget I collect Z80, 70s and 80s computers, dev kits, etc. I have Micro-B, Sorcerer, System at 80, Microprofessor. Cool. Now, I should point out, none of this stuff is mine. These things that are in here, this is all Lachlan's. Oh, Gerald42. Now, Gerald, was it you who posted about the wheelchair project, the off-road wheelchair project? I may have the person wrong. Someone posted about off-road wheelchairs and looking for a CAD person. But anyway, I'll get back to that. I'll find it. I may be thinking of the wrong person. So yeah, this is all stuff that's been cleaned out that was mostly Lachlan's dad's. And then Lachlan, oh no, it wasn't you, Gerald. Okay, thanks. So he's been cleaning out stuff that his dad had stockpiled here. And this whole room was stacked floor to ceiling with racks, loaded with boxes of antique, like vintage radios and computers and things. And Iggy, yes, there is a lot of vintage PC stuff around, but none of it's mine. This is the area that's been cleaned out so that I can then fit it out. So this view is looking back in the exact opposite direction towards the front door. In fact, maybe what I'll do is I'll show you a little bit more of the front room. So this is the one I started with. The door is just to the left here, the front door. This is a door that goes in between the two factories. So that goes through into the factory that Lachlan uses. That's his front office lab sort of area. And Gerald says, would you be worried about static electricity with vinyl flooring? Yes, that's a consideration. It's a consideration with carpet as well. It's a consideration with any sort of flooring. So I'll need to make sure that whatever flooring I end up putting in there is something that is not prone to building up static charge. And yeah, so that door will probably just be closed. Not sealed up, but just closed and never opened essentially. So that's the door that goes between the two factories, and it's not going to be relevant, I suppose, after all of this. Now, there is a feature just in here that I'm going to get to in a second. You can see there is this vertical beam that runs right here. Now, this wall and this wall are like structural dividing walls of the factory. These are cement block walls, and this pillar is a structural pillar. There's a beam, there's a big steel beam that ends at the top of this pillar up above this point. And you can see, but this wall to the right of it, where this shelf is, this is just like a pine frame plasterboard wall. It's just a non-structural interior partition wall. And you can see the end of this beam, which is about 30 centimeters deep. That's going to be important soon. I'll get back to the conversation about that, but this is just to show you where it is. Oh, and in the plan, it is that point right there, that joint just there. So this bit of wall that comes around, that door I'm showing you is just there. It's not in this plan because I'm not really factoring it into how I lay this out. So this representation of the wall here is not accurate. This is not straight. This is cement block wall, and then the pillar is right here, and then this part to the right of it is the pine dividing wall, which is this part here. So the detail around this pillar is going to be important because in my plan I just had it as a straight wall, and it's not a straight wall. It's not that simple. This is looking back towards the front door, and you can see there's a workbench there which I'll end up taking out. So I'm going to replace all of this, build new benches in here, and that's the recycling bin. There's another bin for general rubbish, which is it's actually inside the factory. You'll see that in a second. So this is the front door coming in through this way, and another view of the area. All of these filing cabinets and things have to be moved. So it's at the point where a lot of what's left now is just, oh yes, Mike says dissipative ESD flooring is a thing. Yes, absolutely. And in a lot of lab sort of situations, it'll be done using something like an epoxy floor with impregnated carbon, I think. They do all sorts of things to make the floors dissipative. So yeah, that is going to be a consideration. I'll get to that. I'm not going to talk about that in detail today, but I will get to that in the sense that it's going to be a pressing problem for me very, very soon, like in a matter of days. So I've got to sort that out. All of this bench I'll pull out. This window I don't know what to do with. I'm inclined to just blank it all off, because my plan is to have workbenches around this area, and having a window behind a workbench really just gets in the way. It means you can't have shelves of like test gear and all of that sort of stuff up on the shelf in front. What other views inside here? Oh yeah, that's just another view of that same wall with that old Osborne portable computer. And you can see the Lachlan's forklift in there, open area. All right, so this is basically standing in the area that's going to become the clean room. And these white panels, so these are big sheets of core flute that are just lying against this shelving up here. So what Lachlan has done is all of the stuff that is in the, well, a lot of the stuff here that's in the back half of this factory was set up in this front area. So what he's done is taken everything from the front and sort of compressed it towards the back and rotated these shelves and set them up as a barrier. So that is going to be the demarcation point. So the point where I'm going to have to build a wall is right where those core flute sheets are. That will have to be walled off all the way across the entire factory there. So the wall will go right through where the forklift is at the moment and end up on this pillar probably. I think that's the end point. So it'll be from that pillar straight across and going from floor up to ceiling essentially, or almost ceiling, probably like to the top of that pillar with a little air gap above it, probably. I'm not quite sure how to deal with the top of that. Another view, so all of this still has to go. This is all steel storage from Lachlan Steel Fabrication, and trolleys and lots of stuff, timber. All of this has to be emptied out before I can really start setting up in there. And then this is the view looking back towards the roller door, and yeah, it's a little bit hard getting a perspective on this. This space looks really narrow it's not particularly narrow. It just looks like it because it's so high. So the roller door goes up to, where does it end? There, I think. So that's the size of the roller door. And that roller door is big enough for a semi-trailer. So with that roller door fully open, you can actually drive a semi into this. And yeah, so that gives you some idea that this is actually a pretty big area. It just looks small, and that's like a human size access door in the big roller door. And everything in here has to go as well. So all of this has got to be cleared out. There's a trolley with some stainless steel on it. This is all, I think, a combination of food grade and or medical grade stainless steel, which they use in their fabrication. And timber, and there's a welder under there, and lots and lots of stuff. So all of this has got to be emptied out, and then this is going to be my mechanical workshop area. What else? Skipping back over those. Oh yeah. Yeah, okay, so now we're going to get to this dividing wall. You can see over on the right here, this is the dividing wall between the lab and the clean room. And this is where the hole has been cut out, where the plan was to build 2 doors. And that is these 2 doors right here. But plans probably changed yesterday. Oh, yeah, and that's more of an overall view. So you can see the entrance area there going down to the big roller door. The dividing wall between the clean room. So this area in here is what would be what will become the clean room area where the pick and place machines will go. And you can see there's a big, well, there is a steel beam that runs across here. So from there across to here, and this is the other side of that pillar that I was talking about, the structural pillar. And then there's another beam up there which is holding up the roof. So that's kind of important. But this area all through here, that is just the timber framed plaster dividing wall. Totally non-structural. Now the plan had been, hang on, I'm going to find a picture that's more straight on. Okay, so this is the straight on picture. The plan had been to put 1 door there, which will be the door into the clean room. Put 1 door here, which will be the door into the packing area, mechanical area, like that sort of thing. Put a big window in the wall here. And that window is so that when you're in the lab, you can look through into the clean room. So if people come over to visit and they want to be able to see the machines and things, but not go into the room, they can just look in through the window and see what's going on. And then there would be this point right here is where the dividing wall would terminate. So the wall of the clean room would meet the dividing wall there. It would come in a little bit and then it would dogleg out and then follow this line here on the floor. That's where that line there is the line of this wall right here. That wall there. So hopefully my theoretical plans are making a little bit more sense now in terms of the context of the physical space that it is fitting into. But yeah, I mentioned that plans might have changed a little bit. Oh yeah, and this stuff is all, it's just on wheels. This is all easily moved. It's just sitting there for now, but all of this will go. This area here where these tools are sitting, like the fish tank on wheels and the big dust extraction system and that sort of thing, this is all going to be the clean room area. So the tool board will be removed. This plaster that's on the wall here, that'll be stripped off and then the wall cleaned up. And that's right, I was getting back to this. So up until yesterday morning, Lachlan and I were planning to patch and adjust this wall to suit my needs, and that's why Lachlan cut this big hole in there so that we could begin framing that out to put the two doors in there. And then we would frame this out to put the window in. But the more we looked at it, the more we realized there's not really any point saving this, because by the time, well, there, down the bottom here, behind that table, there is a base plate for the frame, and that has to be replaced because it's actually got termite damage in it. And so by the time you pull that out, which all of these studs are sitting on, and then these studs here have to be removed or cut anyway, and then a new header piece put in because that has to be framed up for a window, and then this frame has to all be built out. There is nothing here really worth saving. It would actually be quicker to just demolish this wall and frame it from scratch the way we want to frame it. And then we were thinking about it and realized that we could just do this with cool room panels as well. So instead of having this as a timber frame plaster wall with as the divider and then do cool room panels for the rest of the walls, I could just use cool room panels here, and it would give a really nice finish, and it should go up pretty quickly and hopefully fairly easily. So then we were talking about moving this wall back. So from the direction that we're standing looking at it right now, moving it away from us by about 30 centimeters. Now the reason for that is you can see that it terminates here, flush with the end of this wall and flush with the back of this big pillar right here. So this is the deep pillar that I was talking about. And it ends with the back of that pillar. Now, on the other side of the wall, if we come and look at it from this side, you can see this area here. This is the front face of that dividing wall. It's ending on the back of that pillar. So what we want to do is move it forward 30 centimeters and end it so that the face is flush with the front of this pillar. So this wall will go directly from this area here, from the front face of this pillar, and it'll just be straight across. So, see, the advantage of doing it as a proper wall is you can mount things on each side, shelves, etc., and you can run cables and power through them. That is absolutely true. That is an advantage of being able to do it as a timber wall. But with cool room panels, I will still be able to mount some things. It's probably not to the extent of it being structural, but in this particular case, it doesn't really matter because there is going to be not a whole lot of the wall that is exposed anyway. So if we're looking at, let's go back to the plan, back to here. So this wall, it's going to be from this point here through to this point here. There's nothing really there's nowhere for shelving, there's nothing that I'm going to want to mount on it other than some monitors. Sorry, I have to keep coughing and I hit mute when I do it. So what I'm going to be doing is attaching some monitors to the wall, but that can easily be done to the cool room panels anyway. It's not an issue with too much weight or anything like that. And there won't be any other shelves. It's just going to be some doors through it, a window, and then some other furniture and stuff in front of it. So that particular wall is not really going to be an issue in terms of trying to set up lots of large shelves with lots of things attached to it. But Sion, you are absolutely right. A stud timber wall would be much better if I was wanting to attach shelves and run concealed cabling and all of that sort of thing through it. Yes. So, and on the other side, there isn't really a need for shelving or anything much attached anyway. Now there's one thing that's missing from this plan. In this corner right here, there is a hose reel, a fire hose, which is, where is it visible? It is not that one. Somewhere here I had a photo that showed it. Oh yeah, that photo. So that hose reel. Oh, I just lost my monitor. And then it came back again. So this hose reel that is right here, that's kind of annoying. It's in an awkward spot. So that's a fire hose. And relocating it would be a real problem. Yeah, it'd take a bit of plumbing to put that into a different location. So that hose reel is going to be right here in this corner. Oops. Why did that flip out and switch back to 2D mode? Okay. I think Floor Planner has freaked out. Let's reopen it. So what I've just been talking this whole time. Oh, Dodgy says, is that cool room stuff dear? I have a few uses for it. Not really. So what's the rate? I don't have the numbers in my head right now, but if I have a look for, say, cool room panel, there is a place down, is this the one? Thomastown, yes. So this place, they sell cool room panels, and pricing, yeah, this will just give you some ballpark figure. I do have the pricing on this somewhere. Prices are not GST inclusive. Oh, here we go. Okay. So 75 millimeter, 75 millimeter thickness, 1150 millimeter wide, from $33 per square meter. So it's in that, like, and this is just one supplier. This one, 50 millimeter, this is roof panel, which is corrugated top. It's more expensive. This is 50 millimeter thickness from $40 per linear meter. And it is 950 wide, so it's a little bit less than a meter wide, so it means that's fractionally more than $40 per square meter. But just as a rough rule of thumb, if you allow like 35 to $40 per square meter, give or take, that's what it costs. So you can kind of figure it out from there. And it comes in all these different lengths and thicknesses. So the thinnest stuff is 50 millimeters thick. You probably have a lot of trouble reading that because that's very small text on the screen. So yeah, the thinnest stuff, the cheap stuff, is 50 millimeters thick, and typically it seems to be around a bit over a meter wide. It's different from different manufacturers, so you can get it in lengths of 2.4, 2.7, 3 meters, etc. And somewhere I did a spreadsheet where I figured out all of the different lengths that I would need, and I costed it on the basis of how many of that times amount per square meter. So yeah. Yeah, oh, Frank says, sandwich panel is quite common in the pharma industry, no issue with installing doors. Yeah. Yes, and there are doors and windows and things that are specifically designed to fit the system. So, and then there are C channels. So what you do is get something like, if you're using 50 millimeter panel, you get a 50 millimeter wide C channel. So this is $40 for a 6.5 meter length. And then you would bolt that to the floor. And then that acts as a footing, and then the panels just stand vertically in that C channel. And that provides the basis. And then you can put another C channel on top, and that locks them all together. And they snap together along their edges as well. So the whole thing kind of clips together and allows you to build, to build up structures pretty quickly, is the theory. Let's see if they've got any other photos. Yeah, oh, you can see there the this is part of the, it's almost like a tongue and groove sort of system. So the panels snap together into each other. don't know if they're going to show what I'm trying to look for here. Oh yeah, there's some C channel fixing screws. Oh yeah, window systems. So you can get windows, and these are set up so the edges of this are also C channel, and that's so that it fits into the sandwich panel system. So you get doors and windows and all of the and all of the associated things. Yeah, so that's my general idea, is to use that to do all of this. However, things have changed. How long have I got? I've got about 18 or 20 minutes before I'm going to have to end this live stream. Oh, this time is going so quickly. So the general idea, what I was thinking of doing, I'm just wondering if I should edit this. It's a copy. I just want to make sure that I'm not going to be messing up. Oh no, it's only a copy of that anyway, so that's okay. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of quick editing. And all right, the other major change is thinking about going through this block wall for the door. So way back in my early ideas, I didn't have, so you probably remember that the biggest difficulty was trying to figure out how to lay this out is this area right here, and it's this nasty little dog leg in the wall, which I really don't want to have to do if I don't have to. And the reason for doing that is because this is the timber framed non-structural wall. This wall here, that is a cement block wall. And so when I saw that, I changed my plans and I thought, no, let's just leave that wall. And Lachlan wasn't too keen on putting a hole through this wall either. And I thought, no, we'll just leave that, avoid putting a door there, and put it on this wall and put this dogleg in place so that you can walk through here to get from the lab area into the, the general product packing area and storage and mechanical space. And so this was the best I could come up with, was this little thing here. But there is a problem with that, particularly if there is other stuff in here like a desk, because imagine if you are trying to wheel, say, a trolley with boxes through this area. You have to come in this way and then do a right angle turn to go through the door, and then another right angle turn to get back out again. So that little S shape there is really horrible from a transit point of view. And it's been bugging me, but this was the closest I could come up with to have a way to get into the clean room or out to the mechanical area without transiting through the clean room. And so anyway, I'm just going to start doing a little bit of hacking here. As we were standing there looking at it yesterday, Lachlan and I were talking about it. Let's grab a few things and move them out of the way. I'm going to move that bench out of the way, move that out of the way. I don't even know what that is. I think it's like a first aid kit or something. So imagine instead we put that door in this wall, and which way would the door open? Probably that way? I don't know. So yeah, imagine we put it into this block wall instead, and then we get rid of this, get rid of that, take this, oops, and come on, why can't I drag that? Ah, there we go, and drag that down to here, and this could be moved a little bit this way, I suppose, like to there. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. So that there's enough left of this wall to be able to open this door and not have it get in the way of anything else. Oh, Austin says, depending on where you put the door, you could use a barn-style door or a pocket door. Yeah, so that it doesn't get in the way. Yeah, I don't really like barn-style doors that much though. So now what I could do is bring that further along. Oh, let's just make that bigger. Oh no, that'll do for now. Anyway, this is, yeah, I lost my my nice white floor in there. So this arrangement simplifies things because it means this wall can be straight. It comes all the way up and it joins here. But it means cutting a hole through the cement block wall. And that is something, saloon doors, yeah. Like in a restaurant or something. Like in the restaurant kitchen. And this is something that, as we were standing there looking at it yesterday, Lachlan and I were coming to the conclusion that maybe this isn't such a silly idea after all. It would simplify the whole floor plan, and it has some other advantages. So you see this this beam up the top. Where's a different view? That one? No. Yeah, so that would mean that this left door would not be there, and instead the door would be on this other wall, on this cement block wall, going through behind that fire extinguisher, which is just generally a much more useful place to have the door because it's straight transit. And if we look at it from this view, it would mean that we would put the door right about there, behind where that filing cabinet is, and it would go through that wall. So what we'd need to do is put a steel lintel above it and cut all of the cement blocks out below it. And this corner here we would want to keep as being reasonably structural. Austin said having too many windows in a lab isn't always the best, tends to throw off lighting for microscopes and can make things even harder for filming. Yeah, having controlled lighting conditions is really important. When I first set my lab up here, so just where I am right now, I had all of my workbench directly under the window on my left, which is where the pick and place machine is now. So if you've seen me walk around with the camera, you'll know what I'm talking about. There is the big window on that wall, and I thought it'd be so nice to have a workbench sitting there with the window right in front of me, and I could look out into the garden and be working on things. And I found there were a few problems with it. One is that the sun coming in the morning was very hot, so I would get a lot of glare. The lighting conditions would change dramatically. When I was working at night, I would need lots of lighting, which means that you don't get the benefit of, I'm saying this the wrong way. You can't rely on natural light because you're not always working when the light is shining. So, which means you have to have good enough lighting to be working at night. And if you're doing that, the window has no benefit because you've already got the good light there. And it meant that I couldn't put test gear in front of me. That was the absolute killer. I had this window that was starting, 25 centimeters above the workbench. And so I had gear sitting on my workbench, sort of pushed back against the base of the window, but I couldn't put shelves in front of me, which meant no access to stuff that I need frequently. I couldn't put an oscilloscope up there on a shelf in front of me. It was just really, really awkward. So all of this useful space, like prime real estate, is the area right in front of you as you're working. I just couldn't use it. It was taken up by the window. So I ended up flipping the whole orientation of the room, moving the workbench over to my right, and at the moment the pick and place machine is there. But the thing is that what I found is that the sun coming in through that window screwed up the cameras on the pick and place machine because it really needs reasonably controlled lighting. It needs consistent lighting. Otherwise you get things like reflections off parts, or the level of illumination changes. And then the OpenCV pipeline that's doing all of the image processing has trouble doing things like masking out backgrounds when it is looking at components and trying to figure out orientations. So I ran the machine a couple of times with the blind open, and I would run the machine, it would run perfectly, and then I would run the machine later that same day, and all the vision was totally screwed up. It couldn't figure out part orientations, and it's because the sun had moved and then the camera settings had to change. So now that curtain is closed. I never open that curtain. It's just the way it is. Sion said, I think I've asked it before, it's okay if you don't want to say or share, but do you have a budget for the minimum viable fit out? I have some costings on various parts of it. So yeah, I don't want to go into this too much right now, but the fabrication of all of the walls and painting the floor, so building the clean room and putting in those doors, not counting cutting through the cement block. We haven't figured that out because that was a new thought yesterday. It's somewhere around the region of $5,000. Should fit it out reasonably well. That is not allowing for electrical and a couple of other things. But yeah, it's somewhere in that ballpark to do the structural stuff to get this to be a nice, clean set of rooms with, you know, painted floors and all the walls and the ceiling built and that sort of thing. So it's in that sort of ballpark. Sausage says time to go. Oh, it's getting close. Thanks for thanks for reminding me. It's getting close. Yes, someone's talked about working without windows. Oh, there it is, Mad Techie. I've worked in bunkers with no windows. It was awful for me. Much prefer natural light and being able to look out a window. Yeah, so there are really important psychological aspects to this as well. And working inside a bunker where you've got no concept of whether it's day or night and that sort of thing, that can really get to you. So it is important to be able to see out and have some context of the time of day and see something that isn't just what's immediately in the room with you. So yeah, that's definitely a consideration as well. To some extent, I know this sounds bizarre, but to some extent, I have that alleviated slightly because I've got this huge TV mounted directly above my monitors and I've got security camera feeds on it. So all through the day, it's just directly in my field of view. It's like a window, but it's into different places around the house, like the front yard, the backyard, driveway, and that sort of thing. So when someone comes to the door, I can see it. It's like looking out a window and seeing it, so I can see the light change and all of that sort of thing. It's no substitute for really seeing outside, but I think it helps. It wasn't intended to, but I think it does help. Now, back to it, as Ellie says. All right, back to it. Now, where did she say that? I think it was on Road to the Aquarium in The Last of Us Part 2. I have so many Ellie quotes stuck in my head. Okay. Yeah, so this thing. Oh, come on, what is going on with... I've got to close the project and then reopen it again. Floor planner is freaking out, like its renderer is freaking out, I think. It's when, yeah, I'm not going to go into that. I know what's going on, but yeah. So, this. Now, this spot right here is where that pillar is. So in this version of the plan, you can see that it looks like a straight wall here, and it's not. In fact, this is going to be like that, kind of. Whoop. Although, did it measure from there? Yeah, I can't remember which dimension it is, but conceptually, this is more what it is. This wall steps out to the pillar, and then at the moment, this partition wall comes from the back of the pillar, and we're going to move it to be from the front of the pillar. But in fact, it's slightly, this wall also extends, so this is going to be, how am I going to do this? All right, draw wall from there. Let's just stick this in. All right, there is going to be this awkward little stub right in here, which is something else that I'm going to have to resolve. But I don't think that's a problem. That area, I could stick something in it, like we could have a fire extinguisher in it or something like that. Because what's going to happen is that this wall here comes across and ends with the end of this block wall here. And if we bring this forward, there is going to be this little stub. So if I go back into the 2D, into the 3D view, it's going to end up like this, which is kind of weird, but I think it's acceptable. If it really bugged me so much, I could blank it off. I could put a little vertical in there to fill that area in. But it's going to be more like this, which is going to make this corner a little bit more awkward. I'm not quite sure what to do in there, but we'll see. It doesn't matter. This is all kind of just vaguely representative. Oh, that monitor has moved. Yeah, so, all right, this is more what it would be like now under this revised layout. So workbenches around this area, and then to get into the mechanical area, instead of walking through the door and through the dog leg, it would be a straight shot through here, which I think is much more sensible. So from here, oh, I need to move that. Move that, move it that way, and that one, move it that way. Yeah, so door through there, into there. I do like that a lot more. That makes more sense. And then when this door swings open, it would swing against this part of the wall, so it would not block this door going through into the clean room. Yeah, so what I've got on here now is a more accurate representation of reality. Because what I was going on when I laid this out, Peter, asking the important questions. I'm late and may have missed it, but where's the bar fridge? In this plan there are two. There's one bar fridge right there. So that's a coffee machine sitting on top of the bar fridge. I wonder if I can zoom in without going crazy. Yeah, so bar fridge right there, coffee machine on top of it. Probably won't be located there. It'll probably actually end up going over here. In fact, what might end up happening, let's rearrange this room a little bit. What might end up happening is this going, can I rotate it that way? Yes. Is something more like this. Thing there, coffee table there, maybe a, which way? That way? I don't know. Something more like this, perhaps. Let's stick that TV up there. I don't know where it will go, if anywhere. And then back into 3D mode. So there is this space here inside the, inside the front door. So looking at this view here, we've got the door, and then to the right of it is the window. What is the time? 10:59. I'm going to have to go any second now. So what we're looking at here is this area, the front door, and then you can see that beside the door is the window. So the couch in that view that I just had is right there, and then the coffee table is down there, etc. I wish I could spin this camera view around. I need a 360 camera view. So that's moving the couches and things along this wall into that area. Yeah, it might be more like, I don't know, something in there. That's all going to have to be figured out, rearranged. So bar fridge might go, but I don't, yeah, that's all very awkward. That's not working at all. This space does not work the way that it's currently laid out. But yeah, to answer Peter's question, bar fridge there, and then there's another fridge back here, because this is the solder paste area. And so back in, it probably wouldn't be a fridge. Back here it's probably going to just be like a little desktop chiller or something, you know, like a cosmetics fridge. But there is a bar fridge in the plan back here, because this is where the solder paste stencils would be stored on these shelves, and this bench area would be used for setting up and cleaning stencils and that sort of thing. And then the the printer would be right here, and then feeding into the pick and place machines, optical inspection coming through to the oven, and then coming out of the oven for manual part placement, and then along through here to ultrasonic cleaning and drying and onto trolleys or shelves at the end of the process. Yeah, so, oh, look, I've got random stuff sitting around because I've just been moving it and moving walls. Yes, so I am going to have to go because I have to jump in the car and drive to Ballarat very, very soon. I should have designed around the bar fridge. Yeah, just place the fridge and everything else has to fit around it. Soldertam challenge? What's Soldertam challenge? I don't know. I don't know what that is. Sorry, Peter. Right. Now. So that was a quick summary of minor changes to the plans, and a look at the reality of what is currently in the space. So I'm going to set up some cameras. Lachlan has a friend who has a business that does time-lapse for things like construction. They work for building companies, doing time-lapse of buildings being built and all that sort of thing. He's going to see if he can get hold of a time-lapse setup from his friend, and I'm going to set up some cameras as well. I've got some IP cameras. Okay, oh, cable ties here. Solder paste and Tim Tams are kept in the fridge, yes. The Solder Tam challenge. So I'm going to set up some IP security cameras and record the footage as well. And hopefully we'll have some cool time lapse of things like demolishing this wall and doing cleanup and painting the floor and building the walls and all of that sort of thing. But I really do have to run. So let's see if my cunning plan for ending this live stream is going to work. Now, in the past, ending the live stream has been a manual process of a whole bunch of things. I've got a macro set up. This is the first time, once again, that I've ever run it because I haven't streamed with this yet. What this should do is kill my microphone, switch to the exit video, wait 60 seconds, and then take the stream off air. So we will see what happens. I might burst into flames when I press this button. But have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all really soon. Thanks. Bye.